Hi, friends. Susan Blackwell from the Spark File here to let you know that the doors are open for the Spark File Illume, a 9-month group creativity coaching mastermind that invites you to be the Chief Creative Officer and Chief Marketing Officer of your creativity. But what does that mean? That means in 9 months in Illume, you will clarify and advance your big creative goals and learn how to effectively share your work with the world. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an experienced creative or an accomplished professional who seeks a space where it is safe to attempt something you've never tried before, or complete a big creative project, or take your work to the next level and acquire the skills needed to share your creative work with the world, Illume might be right for you. We are calling in emotionally intelligent, high-functioning creatives who are ready to level up. You can find out more by going to thesparkfile.com/Illume, but do it now to find out if Illume is right for you and to save with early bird discounts. That's thesparkfile.com/Illume. Take a leap, take a risk. Go to thesparkfile.com/Illume and join us for Illume. This is part 1 of our conversation with Julianne Moore and Bart Freudlich. In it, we talk about their movie After the Wedding. We'll use some swear words. We may even talk about some adult themes. Please use your discretion.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I want to make or how I want to be. Pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Welcome to the Spark File, your one-stop Lunchable for creative inspiration.
I'm Laura Camion.
And I'm Susan Blackwell. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. You may be asking yourself, what exactly is a Spark File? Where do I get one? What do I file in it? These are good questions, and we've got answers.
A Spark File is a place where you consistently collect all your inspirations and fascinations. And if you're like us and you're making stuff all the time, you know that sometimes the wellspring of inspiration can run a little dry. We're here to refill it.
We're on the lookout for fresh ideas, images, and inspiration that spark our creativity and pique our curiosity, things that inspire us to get up off of our asses and make things like this podcast.
Or a feature film that's a twisty-turny emotional thriller.
Or a complex depiction of a woman whose world is changed dramatically.
Or a children's book series about growing up a gingy freckle face.
Or a book of awesome and sometimes nawsome photos of your wife falling asleep on the couch.
On today's Makersode, we're going to talk with some folks who truly spark us.
And those folks are Julianne Moore and Bart Freudlich. Bart, Julie, welcome to
the Spark File.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Always that intro is a tight 17 minutes.
It's nice.
That's right, but we get there. We get there.
Before we start, the Spark File price of admission, real quick, both of you have to tell us a creative risk you've recently taken, something that scared you, something that made you nervous, something that required bravery, or something that wasn't perfect, but it was progress. What you got for me?
We like to cook Branzino.
Mm-hmm.
And
I like where this is going already.
I think we've got the title of this episode.
And I recently decided, after cooking a perfect Branzino, the next time to add some shallots with a white wine and butter.
It was
and you know what? It was a big
mistake.
creative risk, and it was a big mistake.
And it didn't
What'd
pay
you
off.
have for
Did
dinner
not
that
pay.
night?
Well, we had Branzino with
the sauce off the Branzino.
with sauce scraped off.
It sounds so promising. It sounds like
I got greedy. You know, I felt like
you flew too close to the sun.
It sort of speaks to my lack of trust that, you know, the fish is enough, as they say.
That's right. The fish is enough.
Who says that, Bart?
Yeah. Who was the first to tell you it wasn't perfect?
I actually was the one who told
You did.
her.
What he
"You're not-"
said
I
was,
said, "You're
"Watch
not gonna
out.
like
Heads
You're
up.
gonna like the sauce."
Heads
No,
up.
but it was just too.
Yeah.
The fish was enough. And
Yeah.
I felt like I wanted to be recognized more as the person responsible for it being delicious.
Can you tell us when you had done it previously and it was successful?
Yeah.
How you did it?
No.
Wow. Chef's secret. What a dick. I don't ever trust that the fish is enough.
No, I learned this. It was very simple. I learned it from our friend Nick Shevloff, who is the father of our daughter's best friend.
Okay.
And he takes the whole Branzino and salts it.
All of it?
The whole thing.
Head?
No, we take the head off.
Skin?
And the skin's on.
Okay.
And salt it and heavily salt it, and then put it on the grill at a very high temperature and let the outside burn with that salt on it.
Yeah.
And that's plenty. That's all you need.
It sounds delicious.
Yeah, but it was too simple. That which speaks to many of my problems.
We'll get to those.
What do you got first, Julie?
Okay. I didn't learn how to swim until I was 26. So I learned how to swim, but I'm still not a great swimmer. But I'm an okay swimmer. I'm not afraid of swimming anymore. But I'm going to be doing a job where I found out that I'm going to be in water a lot, and I might. And the director mentioned to me very casually that I might have to dive into the water, and I really don't dive.
That's intense.
Yeah, and so I've been practicing on my own, and I'm making progress. It's not great though.
You are practicing diving though. The whole head first.
Head first.
I mean,
Right into the tub. It's a shallow dive.
literally shallow dive.
Just a little baby dive. Do you have like can Bart help? Are you a good diver, Bart? Do you have any
keep
help?
saying I can help.
But I kept trying to do it when he wasn't
trying to
around
break your
because
wife's neck.
I didn't want to have a whole lot of instruction. I just wanted to get over my fear.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going, like I said, it's okay. I'm making progress.
There's something about that is like physically,
terrifying.
viscerally scary.
I hate it. I hate it.
Can you say what the thing is going to be where you have to dive or be in the water?
It's this Apple show that I'm going to do called Lisi's Story, and I think there's going to be a lot of water in it, but I don't know exactly in what capacity quite yet. I just heard that there's a lot of water.
It's literally like the words you use for the metaphor. You dive in head first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
There we go.
Spot on.
Which is terrible.
It's
The fish is enough.
So on the nose.
The
fish is
same-
enough.
also a famous quote.
I will
Yes.
tell you, the very same best friend, our daughter's best friend, I would talk to her about it, and she said, "Oh, I love that. I love that how you just like tuck your head under your hands like that." And nobody's ever said that to me. And so when I was practicing by myself, I did it, and it really helped.
Yeah.
To put your head under your hands.
Was there a moment when you had your arms extended and you had your head tucked and you were just stood there for a long time and were like, I don't want to do it?
Well, yes. Here's the thing, because I have had other summers where I've tried to learn to dive, and Bart has been there with me many of those summers
This
when
is
I stood on the
deep,
side of
Julie.
the pool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to, and he's like, just do it. But because I was alone and because I know that I have to
Yeah.
for this job,
Yeah.
I was able to like do it like 10 times in a row until my thighs hurt from smacking the water.
Sounds great.
A sign you might not be doing it right.
But it's progress.
But it's progress.
it's
That's
progress,
exactly right.
Which means you are now officially admitted into the Spark.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I feel like we need a sound effect there where it goes and pyro.
Now you're in. For people who don't know you, we all know you do a lot of things, but curious how you personally identify creatively. What speaks to you most when you have to
Like if somebody says,
categorize your work?
I grew up under a rock. What do you do? How do you answer?
Who goes first?
You.
Okay. I'd just say I'm an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's great.
That's about it.
That's great.
Yeah, full stop. Right.
Yeah, I say I alternate. If it's the Uber driver, I say that I'm a writer, and he says, "Well, what kind of stuff do you write?" And I say
Poetry.
copy. I write copy. I say I'm a filmmaker usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
I
a good
think
umbrella.
That's not
That kinda
true as much as I think the most. I'm a writer and director.
Yeah.
Probably is the most
Mm-hmm.
most true
Succinct.
way to say it.
Why would you say filmmaker doesn't feel as
Well,
true?
because I think that ultimately I feel like I write things that aren't films that are. It's not how I make my living, but it's I feel like it's deeper than just writing movies, or it's more expansive than just writing movies. So I feel like it's kind of not exactly accurate saying I'm a filmmaker. And it also sounds slightly pretentious.
That's how I think of you.
Yeah, thank you.
So it all kind of lines up. Bartholomew Freudlich. What's your middle name?
Middleton.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Wow.
Can you believe it? It's
Wow.
a big name.
That is a big name to live up to. Good
A
Lord.
lot to live up to.
True.
Bartholomew Middleton Freudlich.
30 letters.
Is it? Good job. Oh God, when you had to fill out those tests where you fill in the dots with your...
I'll be honest, I didn't know how to spell my entire name until I was in 6th grade.
Till I was 36. I don't blame you. It's a
Just take a stab at it.
It's a regal, it's a noble name. I think that you are my favorite director that I've worked with.
Thank you,
Can
Susan.
you tell me why I feel that way?
Oh.
Can you guess? Can you articulate it for me?
Collaborative? Does it have to do with the Branzino?
It's about the fish. You're getting warmer.
The fish
No,
is
tell
enough.
you tell
Collaborative
me.
is good. I feel like you engage with people in a way that is so humane and
Authentic.
authentic. I feel like you see people, all people, not just the fanciest people in the room. And you create a set that is unusual in my estimation. And I think
That's very nice.
it's
Little
true.
lovey.
And you genuinely seem to be enjoying your work. That is probably one of the greatest distinctions. I feel like so many film directors seem so harried and so in overwhelm, and you genuinely seem to be enjoying your work. And I think it might be because you meditate. Is that
I do meditate. Yeah, I wonder. I was going to ask you. Do you think that being kind and inclusive and enjoying things has anything to do with making a good final product?
Yes, because now other people may feel differently, but my little tender heart feels safer when the set feels like that, and when the set feels like competitive is not the right word, but I get this word messed up sometimes. Classist. When the set feels like that,
Hierarchical.
Yes.
There you go. There's that vocabulary I love.
Spell it.
Then I get just me. Sometimes I get like really just scared.
Yeah.
I just can just get scared.
I understand that. I mean, that's my hope, is that I sort of feel like you hire the right people. You hire people who you think are going to make the story deeper, more expansive, do more than you could do yourself. And then you create the environment where they could be comfortable enough to try things and take risks. I'm not sure what I think about. I think that it's more important to me to have a good experience throughout my life, like over the whole course of my life, than it is to make great art. But I want them to happen together. But I also think that there are I ask in part because there are so many directors who notoriously are sort of dictatorial, or is that the word? Yeah.
We're all looking to Julie for vocabulary words.
But
Bring it, SAT.
Or
That's
who
my
are-
name for you now.
Or who bring up, I guess maybe it's partly like being a teacher or a parent. Not that a director does that exactly, but where some people use different motivational techniques, or they're they have their eyes so on the prize that everyone wants to fall in line, and it really doesn't matter what kind of experience you're having. In other words, sometimes if you actually are staying more focused on the story, like I know people who don't want other people's cell phones on sets because they want everyone to be serving the story and not forget that, and not think, oh, when can I go to craft service, or this is what's happening at the end of the day. And as it seems a little narcissistic, but also sometimes I wonder if that actually promotes a better product.
I don't know. I don't think
that-
I've done enough film to have an answer to that.
I have to say, I don't. I think when an atmosphere is that strict. When you talk, I love what you said about being a parent or a teacher, because the other thing that I think that a director does is hold the space for people to do their work.
Yes.
That's their job. And if they can't hold, they're holding the space for their own film. They really are. But in doing that, they have to let everybody else do their work too. And it doesn't have to be, there doesn't have to be anything cruel, to have that happen. You can have parameters. I think there are plenty of parameters, but honestly, as long as people feel that I think we like to feel that there's somebody who's setting a tone and is kind of guiding you through it. But that idea that they're holding space for you to do that creative work is really important, and that they value you. When talking about hierarchical, I'll never forget being on a movie, one of my first movies, and I did a scene with the leading lady, and I was just playing a small part opposite her, and they said, hey boss, you want to turn around and cover her, meaning me? Yeah. And he said, no, I'm never going to use it. And I was devastated.
Wow.
And I think about how much I can't remember in my life, and there's a lot that I can't remember.
But I remember that.
I remember that.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And it was so unnecessary. Yeah. And I have, of course, another thing, watch directors cover people, even though they know that, maybe they have edited, maybe they won't use that, but they want to have the coverage. They also know that in order to make everybody feel part of the process, you have to give everybody time.
Here's a sweet middle ground. There was a moment when we were making After the Wedding when you said to me, Susan, we're not going to cover that line that's in the script, some line I had, something small. We're not going to cover it because I don't think I'm going to use it in the editing room. And so it was this very communicative, very humane sort of, you're still getting the work done. You're still being efficient with your time and still considering that these are real live human beings, not just Muppets that are, I don't know.
And then you didn't make up your own narrative about what does that mean? For that comment, you're like, well, what does that mean? You're never going to
Oh, but I also felt like through the whole thing, and I love this movie. We saw this movie. My husband and I saw the movie the other night. My husband,
I'm nodding. I realized
could not
I'm not her
stop.
husband, but I also saw the movie. Yeah.
Good.
Could not stop talking about it.
Was it what you thought it would be?
I think so. I was so proud to be a part of it. And I felt so considered throughout that creative process. And then I saw the movie and I was like, and I mean this in the best possible way, but I was like, I'm essentially just one small piece of the fabric of this very big movie. And to me, I felt so considered and I felt very seen. And I felt like I was an important player. And then I was like, I'm just part of the fabric of this thing, but I think it's a testament to you two.
But you are an essential part of the film. That's the other thing too. And this is what I like about our process in filmmaking or in acting or whatever, is that we're so interdependent, not codependent, but we're interdependent. Yeah. You can't do
Speak
something.
For yourself.
I can't have a scene, if you and I have a scene together and you're not present, you're not meeting me, that I can't succeed in that scene. So you're bringing everything that you're bringing to that allows that scene to succeed. So it's everybody has the responsibility and has the I don't know. It's just it's one of the things that's exciting about being an actor, I think, or in this kind of creative thing where people with lots of experience, people with little experience, people who are very, very young, like those little boys, people who are maybe elderly, like it feels like life, and that everybody participates equally. They have to, otherwise it fails. So if you have somebody come in for one scene, they have 2 lines and they can't pull it off successfully, that scene dies.
Or even all those extras at the wedding, where we would constantly, that's why I would constantly be saying, this is what's happening right now. This is how this day is going to go. Some of you are, from the groom's side, some are from the bride's side. This is how we're going to shoot this, because you can see that investment on their faces.
But that thoughtful, I find from where my vantage point, and I think it's going to be different for you, Julie, because you have a different, you have a different vantage point. I feel like that thoughtful communication is rare.
Oh, I agree. No, I've seen it. And I also know that, I've participated in films, for a long time and in different places.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So
Yes.
there were times, like I said, when somebody said, I'm not going to cover her, I'm never going to use it. And there have been times where I've been higher up in the hierarchy where I've been treated differently than others. So you do see it. It happens. It's and I do think that Bart is very, very rare in the tone that he sets.
But it's so fun to talk about all this stuff on the set, and for the three of us when we were talking about the relationship between your two characters and the stuff that we'll never be able to communicate on film.
Yeah.
And then all these moments like that I thought about in the editing room, because we didn't get to communicate them, and I would feel guilty about it in part, but then realize that
it serves the bigger.
Not only does it serve that, but also it served our lives, because we got to talk creatively about it and make up, build this story, even if it didn't all get shown on screen. Like the moment where after Julie has yelled at your character, the next moment we talked about that really being an apology, where she just says, "Can you tell him I'm going to be 15 minutes late?" Right. But I didn't get to, I couldn't really cover each of you in singles. So we just had to deal with the fact that was there for the taking if you wanted to pay attention to it. But there was more, there was a full story behind the whole thing. And even for me, knowing that her character would have potentially shared this information with your character, this very secretive, that you'd be the only one. Yeah. It informed everything, and I see it in your performance when you say to her, "Grace is here at the door." There's just so much there.
You're so sweet. I like both of you very much. This has been the Spark File podcast. Julie, you're also very talented.
You're pretty good, but Susan's moments in that film. I know. No, I want to say, just as an outsider, like I heard some stories about the process from Susan, all very positive, but intentionally didn't know a lot going into the film because I like to not know. So I was like, don't tell me the story. Don't tell me those types of details. And so I was not prepared for the emotion that it brought out in me. I lost my mom about 5 years ago.
I'm so sorry.
Thanks. But when just that, the things that I didn't get to say.
Oh my God.
That was so effective and so beautiful. And I remember calling you when I left the theater and was like, wow, let me pull myself together, because I wasn't prepared. I enjoyed the whole story. I saw those relationships that you're talking about, and I didn't need, to know more about them. They were full, they were rich, and it had the impact on a, just an outside observer.
Here's the hard thing about being in a movie with Julianne Moore. Here's the fucking hard thing about it. Oh, you're a delightful person. You're such a good actor. There's a scene in the movie where Julie is not kind to me. And also her character's drunk. Yeah. And you're so good that I was just like, I'm supposed to be saying lines and hitting marks. And I was like, Julianne Moore is so good. In my mind, that's my subtext. You guys, look how good Julianne Moore is. That Julio, the DP, during a take came up to me and was like, you were like a foot off your mark. And I was like, but did you see how good Julianne Moore is? It's distracting. You're phenomenal.
We all sort of feel that way. There was another actor who said to me once, I think who worked with Julie in Magnolia, who came up to, I was on the set one day and he came up, like sort of looked dumbstruck, and he was like, he's like, we read through the scene, and then the camera rolled, and then this heat was coming off her, this heat. And it was like, I couldn't help but be my character, because she was just that, it was exciting. And he was an experienced actor.
It's so good. It's at some point, we don't have to do it now, and you probably don't ever want to do it, but I would love to just ask you like 10 questions about how to be a good actor.
That's a great idea.
So funny.
That's our other podcast.
You do too. You're a great actor.
Not like
Come
that.
on.
Girl,
no.
Shut your goddamn mouth.
No, I think everybody can act. I really do.
You're sweet. Here's the thing. You also have like this crazy technical acumen about like, you just have. I just watched it over and over. Your technical skills are batshit crazy.
That's just practice. That's practice.
I think you're also really quick, though. I think you have a quick mind, and I think you've absorbed things. I think you've absorbed things really quickly, and you're a really quick study.
Right.
And I can just see how those early roles that you did, I think you picked up shit really fast.
Yeah. I mean,
And then
you watch people
through the middle of that,
Yeah.
like you can totally hit marks, and you can totally like, hey, I've got a dialect,
That's
and
right.
then you can act. It makes me want to just punch you right in the cooch.
But I think that's what makes film acting exciting. I think that when
You can juggle a lot of shit.
because you have to have this. I always talk about it being a kind of acting as a sort of a hypnosis because it's not really happening, right? We all
Yes.
know that it's not
Yes.
true.
It's play acting.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
people say like, "I really felt it," well, no, it's not really happening to you. But you can make yourself believe that it's really happening to you. But you have to know also that you are making yourself believe it because you have to know what's happening technically.
Right.
And you
So it's
can
like-
you
It's not
can
actually
monitor all of that
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't know. You're really good at it.
Really good.
I don't know. It's really something to behold. And the other piece of it that kind of rocks my socks is you can do all of that and you can appear unobserved, which I think is
we talk about that a
nigh
lot.
on impossible.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's as if
Right.
no one's watching you.
As if no
completely
one-
unselfconscious.
As if there's not like a $1 bajillion camera beating down on you.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part. That's my favorite
How
part.
do you
And
do
that's
that
the
magic
difference.
trick?
Well, but that for me is the difference between film acting and stage acting. I find that stage acting is so difficult, particularly in a proscenium environment, because you actually have to present in a way. So there, so
You don't,
the other
I think
dimension.
you said that, but you don't like that.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
So the other dimension is that, you pretend that it's, you have to know what's happening technically, you have to feel it and stuff, but then you also have to be presentational. The thing about film
right.
acting is that there is no presentation. You can just,
You just are
you have
being
those two things. Yeah.
Can you, does the presenting, is it distasteful to you because there's it feels false, or you have to like gussy up a bunch of breath to do it? What is it that you don't like about it?
I feel it's going to sound really silly. It doesn't feel private. And I know that it's been, and when on a film, it does feel private because everybody I'm working with is a colleague. So I'm not being observed. I'm not being observed performatively. I'm working with everybody that I'm working with. We're all working to the same end. So I can do that stuff in front of them because we're all making a movie together. It's the director's, story, the writer's story, the whole camera department is doing their job. The production designer's done their job. The other actors are there. So we're a team. So within that environment, it's private because we all belong to each other.
It's so interesting.
In a performance in a theatrical place, I'm on the team with all my people on stage, but the audience is there simply to observe it.
You're like, what are you fuckers doing
Why are
here?
you doing here? I'm having
When someone succeeds on stage that you see, what are you seeing?
I see them being enormously private. Like Stephen Delane, I don't know if you've ever seen Stephen Delane on stage. He blows me away because he's somehow able to be quiet in his affect and his voice and his physicality, and in a way
still
that
like
seems
rocket to the back
completely-
row.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know how he does that. I mean, because you don't see that very often.
I feel like I don't know if it was the first time you registered on me, Julie, but watching that Vanya on 42nd Street, that's where I had been at the Guthrie. I had studied. I had thought I was going to be a classical rep actress. And it was seeing that where I was like, oh, that's what it can be.
Right.
Like I understood Chekhov and classics in a way I had not in all of my studies. And I also felt like an enormous hack.
No.
It's a testament to the talent, certainly, that those artists that put that together, but also the amount of time that you all had been soaking in it.
Right.
You studied that.
It was 5 years. It was 5 years of doing it.
It was deep.
But what was great about it, and this is what changed things for me as an actor, this is the first time I worked on something theatrically that was not performative. It was not supposed to be. The idea was we were going to do it. We were going to enact it or be in it as intimately as possible. For all those years, and that there was going to be no result. So if somebody acted, it was different. It was like a rehearsal every time. So you were going to react authentically to what that actor was giving you. And if that didn't bring you to the fourth act, well, it didn't. Sometimes it went off the rails.
Yeah.
So you really had to take that. And I thought that's the kind of work I want to do, in film. I want to have it be that authentic and that not that performative.
Cams.
Yep.
I can't recommend it highly enough. You would love it. And there's something about Julie's performance in that where it's like real human beings. It's like real human beings, but it's Chekhov. You're saying all those words.
Right.
I had never seen anything like that before.
You know who I was talking about the other day, and I was just mentioning to somebody else, George Stephanopoulos, who is the anchor on GMA. One of the things that's really unusual about him, when you do any of those talk shows, you immediately are interviewed and people have a somewhat presentational voice when they speak to you because they're like, hey, good morning, everybody. Here we are. Blah, blah, blah. George is the only person.
Welcome to the Spark File.
Like that. George is the only person who's ever interviewed me in a television capacity whose vocal quality doesn't change from the personal to the public. And so when he starts speaking to you,
it's that
he just keeps, and you're like,
oh, have we started?
And it's really wonderful.
That was that Vanya on 42nd Street.
That kind of thing. It's like you're using.
I'd never seen anything
so
like
when you
it.
see that, you're kind of like, this feels weird. What's happening?
Goddamn revelation.
Yeah.
And also Louis Malle, who directed
Yeah.
it, did the whole big speech was done in voiceover on a close-up of Julie's face, so she wasn't actually saying it. It was like a 2-3 minute speech that was your voiceover while you were running it in your head, I imagine.
Making faces.
Or thinking about, did I leave the other
making isn't that what actors do? You make faces.
If you're listening to this and you want to enjoy something a lot, go watch that Vanya on 42nd Street. It's so fucking good.
I want to.
Yeah.
I also want to ask you, I feel like we almost got to this. Susan and I talk a lot about when we started this project, like this was like a marriage, like we're in it. And that's right, for better or
Our
worse,
sexless
sweetheart.
creative marriage.
I know. But it got me thinking, like yours is like a marriage within a marriage.
Yeah.
When you collaborate, and can you tell us about that? What's that like, and how can you compartmentalize it? How does it work for
That's
you?
the most boring part, right?
No, look, I'm watching you. I'm like, what?
We're partners in everything.
Yeah.
That's the question, really. Like, so does it just bleed into each other? And
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
it's all one marriage.
We have we sort of on the in anticipation of, because of After the Wedding, Julie and I started a company together, which is very unusual, I think, for people who are married to have a company together.
What, like a company?
A film company.
What's the name of it?
4060.
4060, because 60/40 was taken.
No, 4060 is a great name. So now we talk a lot about things that, they're all things that are exciting creatively. None of them we're thinking we're going to get rich off that.
Yeah.
But we talk a lot about projects that we could get involved with as either producers, or what should this be, a TV show, or should this be a film? So we talk, like we were just talking about that this morning before you went to yoga and before I went, where did I go? To get an acai bowl?
Straight to hell. So wait a second. So you're developing, is it specifically like, would you always write and direct, Bart? Would you always star Julie?
No.
Or is it just whatever is blowing wind up your skirt?
Some of it is because it's so difficult to get things made these days, and you end up as the actor, the main actor, or the director and the writer doing a lot of the producing work. Producers might not agree with that necessarily, but it's really true. You end up, Julie, on After the Wedding, Julie was the one who reached out to Michelle Williams.
That's right. And you told me one time that you like fundraise, like a producer will turn to you and say, darling, would you please get $10,000 out of so-and-so? And like you actually fundraise on films.
We did.
On this film in particular, we actually ended up fronting some money.
Yeah.
For
our own.
For some product placement money. Like some people wanted to be involved in the film for product placement. We needed some extra money in order to get an extra day of shooting.
Yeah.
And we but you don't get that money until you've proven that the product has made it into the film at the end. So we kind of took the risk of saying we'll front that money.
And then,
So you took the kids' college fund and you were like, slid it across the table.
That's right.
It's fine. It was funny though, editing the film, knowing that there were moments where this scene wasn't working for the.
But it was uncuttable.
But it was uncuttable because she was wearing a shirt. So that no, I'm just kidding. We actually worked it out, so we only did a portion of it, so we'd never be in that position.
I have to tell you, I have a keen eye for product placement, and I smelled none of it in that movie.
We were very strict about only doing because Julie's character is so wealthy.
Yeah,
we were able to get some things.
It was the perfect kind of mixture, and there was nothing she didn't kill anyone, or there wasn't a lot of cursing. It's PG-13, oddly.
So that was helpful. Yeah.
But it will rip your goddamn heart out. So you're making things together, and you feel like it's sort of a seamless, like you're talking about it over the dining room table.
I mean, seamless.
Well, I mean,
it's different for me. I mean, as somebody, I'm very compartmentalized. I think as being an actor and then having a family, especially when our kids were little, it was like I could do my work and then come home and be done with it and be a parent. And I think in this situation, we weren't compartmentalized at all, right?
Not in this. Yeah. No, we weren't. But I never am because I'm 24/7 with the movie. So it was actually just great for me to have a partner who I could talk to about it, all of it, and who was invested in it equally, because she'll listen to me about anything or put on that listening face. But, that's right. But before it was sort of like, this is what I think and good luck with that tomorrow. I'll see you when you get home from work. Right. But now it was like there was real investment, and when we would go home, we'd take the weekend and we'd rewrite stuff, or I'd ask her questions. So for me, that was
so
great.
Romantic.
And it is
wonderful.
It's pretty cool.
I love it.
And then the funny thing is though too, we have very different rhythms. Bart is slower and more thoughtful about decisions, and
It's true.
I am really fast.
So I don't really love small talk. I like to kind of cut a little
Get
deeper.
to it. Yeah.
And I remember asking, we were sitting waiting between setups or something, and I was like, what do you think the central conflict in your marriage is? And you said, he's got a slower pace, you've got a faster pace, but you also talked about how that has been of mutual benefit to you.
Absolutely. And I think even creatively, there would be times when, he'd be like, well, I'm making a creative decision. And I'm like, I wrote the email. Like I did it. Like I already wrote it.
It was great because Julie was very, very, she would push forward always. In that way. And she always does with everything. But there were also other times, like remember when we went scouting for the house?
Oh God, I was ready to make a decision on this house.
We got to this house that was like totally mediocre. And it was the house that was going to be the set piece for the entire film.
Well, you we'll take it.
And we got up there and she's just like, this is going to work fine.
I said, this is great. I said, it's 35 minutes out of town. I said, it's brand new. I said, we can just art direct the hell out of it, just fill it with furniture and stuff.
Yeah.
And
There's a place for catering.
And I said, it's got a place for catering right there, and there's plenty of parking down the hill. I said, this is going to work. And Bart was like,
I'm like, I didn't picture it like this.
Yeah, my mind's eye is saying,
yeah.
Hold up.
Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I wanna make or how I wanna be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
That was part 1 of our interview with Julianne Moore and Bart Freudlich. Part 2 will be available next week, unless it's the future or you're quantum leaping. Then it's available now. So go on, give it a listen. Find out how it all turned out for little Bart and Julie. Hi, friends. Susan Blackwell from the Spark File here to let you know that the doors are open for the Spark File Illume, a 9-month group creativity coaching mastermind that invites you to be the chief creative officer and chief marketing officer of your creativity. But what does that mean? That means in 9 months in Illume, you will clarify and advance your big creative goals and learn how to effectively share your work with the world. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an experienced creative or an accomplished professional who seeks a space where it is safe to attempt something you've never tried before, or complete a big creative project, or take your work to the next level and acquire the skills needed to share your creative work with the world, Illume might be right for you. We are calling in emotionally intelligent, high-functioning creatives who are ready to level up. You can find out more by going to thesparkfile.com/Illume, but do it now to find out if Illume is right for you and to save with early bird discounts. That's thesparkfile.com/Illume. Take a leap, take a risk. Go to thesparkfile.com/Illume and join us for Illume.